But now we're headed over to our top 5 segment, man. And this week it is top 5 television series that we fear may be canceled this year. And some of mine on my list are not even on yet, but they look exciting, they look enticing, but I fear that they're not gonna go anywhere.
Well, that's not good.
I know, but I can't trust any of these networks anymore because like Council of Dads and a couple of other ones that I fall in love with these shows, but then they go away so quickly because like you don't give it time to establish an audience.
Yeah, because you said that Council of Dads, Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. NBC, you're struggling with Peacock with original content, right? You're fucking Law and Order organized. That's 2 shows you could have plucked over onto Peacock that people would have like been driven to. They loved those shows. They would have been huge there, and yet you just got rid of them altogether. What the fuck? Look at the Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist Christmas movie on Roku. Yeah. That shit did fucking massive numbers. If you had just kept that show and put it on Peacock, boom. That's all I'm saying. Like, it's all I'm saying. Like, oops.
That's it, man. That's it.
All right.
Well, my number 5 for this top 5 segment is On Call. And this one is a Amazon Prime series.
Yes.
Now, I only watched a couple of episodes with my wife because she had it on in the background, but it seemed very interesting. And there's 30-minute episodes, and on IMDb it has a 7.7 rating out of 10, obviously. And it follows a pair of police officers on patrol as they respond to a new radio call arriving to the scene to resolve incidents. Duh. So they're following police officers who may or may not be dirty or who are trying to lean more into their new life and get away from their past life. And it's always so interesting to dive into these crazy backstoried characters who are trying to escape their past. And I think that's what this show is trying to do. So the worry that I have with this one is it doesn't really have a lot of promotion, not a lot of marketing, but Amazon's kind of bad at some of that with their lower shows, and it feels very low budget to me, even though the writing is good and it's a good storyline, but it feels very low budget, and sometimes like their camera shots are very weird. But yeah, I think I'm worried about that one for my wife, so I wanted to put that on the list. Number 5 for me, On Call.
I watched it, I finished it, I loved it. I thought the storytelling was fantastic. I kind of liked the weird, gritty camera shots sometimes. I don't know. I'm just a little weird like that. But you're right. Amazon is horrible at marketing. This is a Dick Wolf series, y'all. That like that should be a no-brainer. A Dick Wolf law-oriented show is a no-brainer. It should be a huge hit. But they didn't market it very well. Like, you're right. I think it might be. I hope not, but I think you might be right with its cancellation. But I think this is one that would find a home on Peacock because NBC has such a good relationship with Dick Wolf that I feel like they would scoop that show up and at least give it another season just to kind of see. So,
or is it Elliot Wolf?
Elliot Wolf created it, but it's a Dick Wolf production. Yeah, Wolf Entertainment. Cool. It falls under Dick Wolf, but
nice.
Yeah, yep. So yeah, I feel like they have such that established relationship that if that one were to get canceled at Prime, NBC might pick it up and give it a shot. Right. You know, my number 5, and I think it's just been heading here for a couple of seasons, and that's because of the death of the main character. I think once that happened, the showrunners tried desperately to continue the story going, but it just wasn't working. And then this latest season, they brought in new showrunners to try to change the course of the storyline, and that didn't seem to work either. And while it didn't tank horribly in the ratings, I just feel like I don't know if people will continue to still try to hang on for much longer if they can't figure out a way to change the direction of the story without that main character. And my number 5 is The Cleaning Lady on Fox. I loved it. Brilliant show. And the downward spiral that it took had nothing to do with the show. It's hard to overcome the loss of your star. Like it was an unexpected death. They were in, production on the season already. They had to figure out a way, one, to not show him in the rest of that season, and then try to figure out all these arcs that they had set up for the next season don't work now because he's not
Yeah.
there. So they had to try to figure out how to do that. So unfortunately, I think this is going to be a cancellation due to no fault of their own. It's just going to be one of those things that sadly can no longer work because of the situation. And that's sad because the cast is really good. And it looked like it was going to be an amazing story that could have probably played out 5, 6, 7 seasons. But I feel like they gave it their best effort, and I don't see it. So I'm a little worried this one's going to say bye-bye.
Makes sense, man. It makes sense. Number 4 for me goes to one that's not out yet. It is another new series that I'm very interested to see. CBS's and Paramount's own Watson. And this one, of course, has Timothy O'Brien in it. I mean, amazing star, and he's very solid and can carry a show. But the premise is a year after the death of his friend and partner Sherlock Holmes, Dr. John Watson resumes his medical career at a clinic dedicated to the treatment of rare diseases. However, he soon finds that his old life is not yet done with him. I put this one on the list because I'm always afraid to get attached to new shows because they'll be here and gone in like 2 seconds. So that's pretty much why I went with that. And it's a little bit different than I feel like all the other things that CBS and Paramount is kind of doing right now because it's like established IP but kind of with a new concept, and then plus, John Watson I don't believe has ever been a black character, so I'm very hopeful that this is going to be a new line of representation when it comes to the African American community, but I'm also hoping that fucking racist assholes don't make it a big thing, like blah blah blah, like he's not black, but whatever, it's not that big of a deal.
Right.
So yeah, I'm worried about the show being on the bubble just because of viewership and being a new show and getting out there. But I'm excited. I want to watch the first episode. I did start a new show this year called Doc, and I know you started it as well.
Yep.
It's a great freaking show. I've literally cried at the first 2 episodes.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
If y'all haven't checked that one out yet, please be sure to do so. But yeah, number 4 for me goes to Watson.
So, and it'll be interesting to see if this is a one and done because if I'm not mistaken, they did try to do something similar to this. CBS did a few years back with Lucy Liu, where it was based on Sherlock Holmes, and it for whatever reason did not click. It didn't hit with audiences. This is taking a risk because they're killing Sherlock, like right from the get-go. Sherlock's dead. So even that's kind of, because I think there's always, if he's alive, there's always the, ooh, is he going to show up? Is he going to at some point go, what are you doing, man? Why are you kind of dead? But with no shot of Sherlock showing up, that's interesting to see if that'll be a plus or a minus right out of the gate for that show. So yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see if that's a one and done or not. My number 4 came out gangbangers. It was slaying in the ratings. The second season, the ratings dropped a little bit, so I'm a little concerned. That's why I'm saying I don't know if, but I feel like there's a chance that we could see it go. I'm talking about Accused on Fox. It's such a great show. Basically, it opens up and the people are in court and they're on trial, and then it goes backwards and shows you the events leading up to why they're in court being accused of what they're being accused of. And sometimes the show plays out to where they were completely innocent and they were wrongfully charged, and it plays out. Other times it shows that they were absolutely there, they're guilty, and they kind of thing. So it's a very original concept. I know it's based on a foreign show, British, I think. It plays out really well. It's a nice crime procedural with a little twist on the way they do things. So I'm not quite sure. I think it might have been a victim of it got bounced around on the timeline a little bit, so people were having a hard time finding it. But I'm hoping now with Hulu, because you can watch it, it kind of saves the audience and maybe we see a little resurgence again, because it's a really creative show. And a lot of our friends and former guests have been on it. So it's solid. The acting is brilliant. The storytelling is good week in and week out. And so I hope that I'm wrong. I hope this thing finds an audience and can build back up to the season 1 numbers, because it's a really good show. But yeah, number 4, Accused. I think it's It's on the bubble, and I'm hoping it survives. I really am, because I love it. I think it's a great show.
For sure, man, for sure. Another one that's surprisingly on the bubble is Family Guy. But also The Simpsons, Bob Burgers, like a lot of the adult animated shows, either for Fox or, Disney, they're all kind of like trying to figure out where they go next. Um, I I'm hopeful that all of them are going to get renewed because you're always going to need adult animated comedies to make fun of the world that you're in right now. And obviously, I've said this multiple times. Family Guy is one of the big reasons why I've always wanted to write an adult animated series. That's kind of, the inspiration behind the Bonks Bar project that we are working on. So I'm always terrified that this thing will go away because I'm hoping, I don't know if it ever will because I don't know if Simpsons will ever go off the
No,
air,
no.
but I'm hoping Family Guy will catch Simpsons one day if it does go off the air. But yeah, number 3 for me, Family Guy.
Interesting. Yeah. Listen, I'm just gonna say it. I think that unless Fox goes away, right? Family Guy. I mean, The Simpsons is gonna be like what Supernatural was for the CW. Right. To be fair, now new ownership came in for the CW, so it was going to kind of fuck that up. But
Right.
basically, back in the day, the CW, the management of CW is basically like the boys are going to be on the air until they don't want to be. And I truly believe with Fox that is The Simpsons. That show will go until they don't want to do it anymore, and because for as long as it's been on, it's still slaying in the ratings and the people love it. And so I don't see that thing going anywhere until the cast goes, we're tired. We don't want to do it anymore.
Yeah,
But
right.
at this point, they make so much fucking money. Why would they ever say that?
Yeah.
I don't know. Anyway, my number 3, and I think because of what you just said with Family Guy and some of the other animated series, is trying to figure out where they're going to go next. That's why I think this one could potentially be coming close to its end, which I hate but I get it because it has, in my opinion, over the last season or so, become somewhat repetitive. And so I'm talking about Emily in Paris. And you guys, this is my guilty pleasure. I fucking love this show. I know it's a total chick flick show. I know it's a show that I probably shouldn't even fucking want to watch, but I love this fucking show. Maybe it's Lily Collins because I've always been a huge fan of Lily Collins, but I just really, really, really enjoy this show. And so for me to say even, it's kind of getting repetitive. And I know there was like, let's move it out of Paris. Let's have Emily get promoted and go somewhere else, kind of a thing. And then Paris was like, fuck you. And we want that, money coming in. And so it's back in Paris kind of thing. But yeah, I think anytime a show gets repetitive, you're basically telling the same storyline, but with a different love interest or kind of a thing.
Right.
It usually sees its ending. Right. And so, and I have just, my fear is that that's where Emily in Paris is at right now. We're kind of seeing the same storyline, just with different love interests, and we're kind of like, we've seen it play out. So either drastically change up the storyline, or I think it's going to bite the dust. Emily in Paris. I hate to say that because it's been 5 years and I love the show, but yeah.
Yeah, very understandable, man. Very understandable. Number 2 for me goes to Animal Control. That one's on Fox. Of course, this is the one with Joe McHale.
Yes.
This one is on the bubble. I would hate to see it go away because it was a brand new comedy that came out during pandemic times to where people were starting to laugh again and starting to get over their fears of going outside. But I could see this one going away because Joe McHale is starting to do more film projects. He just got announced to be in Scream 7. So
Are
I
you
know
okay
that
with that, by the way? Have you recovered? Is it yeah, he's taking the place of your man crush, bro.
it's fine. It's fine. My man crush is in the new Dexter, like the
Okay,
prequel
all
series,
right,
so that's
okay.
fine. I
So
can still
we'll go
see.
with scheduling conflict then, and not
Yes.
that Dempsey was asking for too much money, because I know there were talks. So I don't
Oh,
know
yeah.
what happened, but
Yeah, so I think that's a big thing because Joe McHale is very talented. He's very funny, and he's actually a really good actor.
Yeah.
So I could see this one staying on like for the next couple of years, but I also could see it potentially ending because he wants to move on to you know bigger roles in the film game. So that would be very interesting. But yeah, number two for me, Animal Control.
There you go. Uh, my number two, and it should make total sense because of our conversation about the streamers and why do I think it's going to be canceled? Because we haven't fucking seen it yet. It hasn't come back yet. I'm talking about Law and Order Organized Crime. NBC, where is it? Where is just stab me in the heart and tell me you're canceling it or put it on because I miss it. I want to watch it. It's driving me crazy. My number two, Law and Order Organized Crime. And it's going to upset me because it's a really fucking fantastic show. It's as good as the other Law and Orders, hands down, no doubt. I think this one it's the time frame, how they kind of, it would miss a week here, it would miss a week there. It wasn't consistent. So when it was following the Law and Order SVU Organized Crime, you'd get Law and Order SVU, and then sometimes you'd miss a week of because so I think it was a victim there. My only hope is here because I think that Elliot there, I think that relationship has kind of been mended. So I think that if we do see the demise of organized crime, Elliot will pop back up on SVU. He will just come back to SVU, and maybe even a couple of other characters from organized crime could make in and outs on S because they have established that. And a lot of the characters in organized crime, like Elliot's mom and the brothers, and they have been either highlighted during SVU, or been mentioned in SVU. So it wouldn't be odd for them to all of a sudden come into the SVU world, especially the mom. She was featured in at least 6, 7, 8 episodes of SVU while Elliot was still a star on there. So, yeah, I think that's. I sadly think it's going to bite the dust, but I'm really hoping that he just transitions over to back to because they've been building the tension in their relationship between Elliot and Olivia
Right.
the whole time, as in we're finally gonna get it. And if you just cancel the show and then he just goes away again, it's gonna be like, no, you can't do that to us. He's met the kid, he's fond of the kid, he gave her the little keepsake. It's like, I love you, I've always loved you. You can't just rip them apart from us again. That's all I'm saying. So if you cancel the fucking show, put him on SVU. That's what I'm saying. Anyway, that's my number two.
My number one goes to Dexter Resurrection. I'm worried about this one just because, again, bringing a new show back, and this is the second. I don't know. It really hasn't been clear if this is going to be a limited series or if they're just coming back to continue trying it again, kind of like how they did with the Bosch and Bosch Legacy, whatever.
Yeah.
So that's kind of unclear. And I also am worried about the younger audience and audiences that are just now being exposed to Dexter, if they're even going to care about this storyline, because I got into this back in July and I didn't realize how many spin-offs there have been. There's also been like small other projects like Blood Spatter and obviously the spin-off New Blood, the sequel limited series after the original series, and now there's a prequel. So I'm worried that with this one, people are going to be too overwhelmed to try to jump back into this. Or at least if you're a new viewer, you'd be too overwhelmed to try to catch up to finally get to the spot where this new one's at. And I hope, I know it was very successful in its time, and I'm hoping it still has that built-in established audience. But like I said before, I feel like I can't trust the streamers or the studios with any project when it comes to television. So that's my big reasoning. I would love to see it continue on for so many years, and the creatives and writers and Michael C. Hall, they all seem very excited about it. They actually just filmed the first day of production, I think either today or yesterday. So that's very exciting, but I'm hoping it sticks around for a couple seasons. But yeah, number one for me, Dexter Resurrection.
Dude, I'm right there with you. I agree with everything you just said. But I really do hope it sticks around. I'm all in on it because I've watched
Hmm.
all of the other ones and I'm ready for this one. And so I hope it survive. I do. I'd like to see it have a decent run. But
Right.
we'll see. My number one is the current Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. What do I mean by that? This is a show that has a phenomenal cast, phenomenal writing, phenomenal directing. Everything about the show is brilliant. Came flying out of the gates with massive numbers, got renewed right away, was slaying, just like Zoe's Extraordinary Playlist. And then NBC did to this show exactly what they did to Zoe's, started bouncing it from night to different times to different, and nobody could find it. And so in season 2, the ratings started to drop because it's like, what night is it on? Oh, it's on this night now. So and then you tune in at a time. Oh, wait, it's a different time now, kind of. This show, I fear, is going to be canceled for the exact same reason that Zoe got canceled, because it lost its audience because NBC fucked it. And I think that's going to happen to this show, and I'm going to be pissed. I'm talking about Found. Brilliant show. This is about missing people, not just missing children, but missing people. And it's about a woman who was kidnapped and was missing for a long time and finally broke free from her captor and got away and spends her life now making sure that never happens again while having her kidnapper locked in the basement. Yes, she kidnapped her kidnapper. But then he gets out, and now it's like a, and so, but anyway, it's the cast is phenomenal. Week in and week out, I'm crying my eyes out. They're delivering Emmy-winning performances every week on this show. So, I just think it's another victim of like what they did to Zoe. If you have a hit show and it's doing gangbang in the numbers, don't move it. Keep it where it's at and don't touch it. Like, I will never understand NBC and why they do that. It's not just Zoe's. They've done that to several hit series they fucked up. And I don't, who's running that ship? Because you're fucking things up. Like, but anyway, yeah, my number one, Found. And I'm like, please don't do it. Give it legs. Give it a third season, because if the ratings drop, you caused it. So give it a third season and let it rebound. Put it in a spot where it's going to do well and don't touch it. That's all I'm saying. It's like fucking great show, man.
Exactly. Well, we want to know what what television shows do you think are going to get canceled this year? Or are you scared that they're going to get canceled? Be sure to comment below down in the comment section. Let us know on Instagram, Threads, X, all the good places. We love the fan interaction.